It's possible that Stevenson has the most astounding mix of abilities and natural qualities, particularly when it comes to his speed, reflexes, and agility. He's one of those fighters that comes along once in a lifetime and is breathtaking to see, similar to Vasily Lomachenko when he was at his peak. The southpaw is able to pick apart his opponents because of his great footwork and sharp jab, which enable him to manage the gap between them. Additionally, his defensive prowess is unique and impressive. Although he's not a knockout artist, the power punches he throws are very crisp and attract the eye. Thus, keep watching this video to see why Shakur Stevenson will be the face of boxing. Shakur Stevenson could be the face of boxing. Bob Arum is certain that his boxer, Shakur Stevenson, will achieve the status of the face of boxing at some point in the course of his career. But in order to do so, Stevenson will need to make significant adjustments to his style of play. Stevenson is a professional boxer who has been in the game for 5 years and has a perfect record with 10 knockouts. One of the requirements for a boxer to meet in order to be considered a candidate for the title of face of boxing is for the boxer to possess an interesting fighting style. Thus, if Stevenson wants to become the best boxer in the world, he will need to completely alter his style of fighting, which now places an emphasis on avoiding injury. And in terms of his playing style, Stevenson will need to alter his DNA, become a slugger, and cease putting most of his emphasis on his defense. Arum says that Shakur is a more talented fighter than Mayweather.
Shakur Stevenson, mark my words, will eventually be the face of boxing.
Bob Arum remarked on IFL TV. He's a tremendous talent, and at this stage of his career, he's better than Floyd Mayweather was at the same age. Arum, the promoter for Top Rank, believes that Stevenson is superior to what Floyd Mayweather Jr. was like when he was the same age in 2000. In light of the fact that Shakur hasn't shown the same scintillating style as Mayweather Jr. exhibited early in his career when he was in his early 20s, Arum's assertion is somewhat audacious. Stevenson's lack of power, as well as his failure to score knockouts when going up against the competition, is Arum's primary concern with regard to the boxer. In addition, Stevenson is not nearly as powerful as Mayweather was, nor is he as lightning swift as Mayweather was. Early in his career, Floyd Mayweather was able to compensate for his lack of power by being a brutal combination puncher. When Mayweather was competing at 130 and 135 pounds early in his career, the majority of his knockouts occurred over those first 7 years. Arum said, "We worked to get Floyd's name out there for 10.5 years. Therefore, I'm overjoyed with Shakur, and I enjoy the company of the people that surround him, including his grandpa, his manager, and his trainer. Everyone is putting in their best effort to ensure that Shakur becomes the superstar that he is destined to be," added Arum. Also, he believes that in order for Stevenson to become the face of boxing, he will need to alter his fighting style in order to be more approachable to the general public. The fencing style of fighting employed by Shakur needs to adapt. There is a slight possibility that Stevenson might become the face of boxing in terms of being highly valued by the data freaks and geeks who put out pound-for-pound rankings. Furthermore, his training partner, Terence Crawford, though, has spent a considerable amount of time at the top of the pound-for-pound rankings, and as you can see from his recent fight with Errol Spence Jr., he's earned a considerable sum of money in the process. In spite of this, Stevenson is not gaining an overwhelming amount of popularity, and it is quite likely that he will have a slow climb to become the face of boxing throughout the course of his career. But it is possible that Stevenson will become the most recognizable figure in the sport if there is a significant shift in the preference of the public on what they want to watch. However, that still depends on Shakur, because he has a fighting technique that is similar to fencing with swords, which is prevalent in amateur boxing but monotonous to watch in the eyes of many spectators. The aspiration of Shakur Stevenson to get some real respect. Shakur Stevenson has the impression that people have forgotten what he has accomplished while competing inside the ring, that they omitted to include him in the pound-for-pound rankings of the very best boxers across all of the sport's weight divisions. In the midst of getting ready to test the waters in a new division, he is anxious to bring everyone's attention to an important point. If he had won, he probably would have moved up to the lightweight division for his following fight, or shortly after that. But now that he is competing in a different class, Stevenson is faced with the challenge of climbing the rankings once again in order to get a match against the best fighters in the new division. Thus, he is no longer a champion, and as a result, there is far less hype around his name. "It's like a restart," Stevenson told the news. He added, "It's strange because when you're a champion, people appreciate you on a whole other level than before. During the time that I held the title of champion in that region, I was included in many pound-for-pound rankings. Because I am now competing in a higher weight class, you don't hear anybody referring to me as the pound-for-pound champion very often these days." He added, "It reminded me a lot of Roy Jones and the song Y'all Must Have Forgotten. Once you go ahead, people tend to forget who you are, what you've done, and your successes. It doesn't matter anymore." Simply said, I believe that the fans and the boxing community as a whole forget, and the only thing left to do is to shake them out of their slumber at this point. Stevenson disrespects Lomachenko, labels him scary for not accepting combat. It's hardly a secret that Shakur is interested in fighting Lomachenko in his next bout. Shakur Stevenson, who is yearning for a bout and has been ignored by Vasily Lomachenko in his callouts, has opted to insult the two-time Olympic gold medalist by calling him scary for his choice not to fight him. On the other hand, Shakur seems to be in a terrible situation, as he is attempting to humiliate Lomachenko into fighting him by showing him disdain and therefore tarnishing his own reputation. The problem is that Stevenson is missing the bigger picture. It doesn't matter who he wants to fight at 135. He won't get it. Whether it's Lomachenko, George Kambosos Jr., Devin Haney, or Isaac Cruz. And talking to Lomachenko's promoters at Top Rank would be the more professional approach for Stevenson to do if he wanted to attempt and secure a bout with Lomachenko. After all, it is what they're paid to do. Nothing of value can be obtained from Stevenson. The fight with Stevenson would not be financially beneficial for Lomachenko since he does not currently have a championship title. On the other hand, a stadium fight in Australia versus George Kambosos Jr. may possibly be the most lucrative opportunity for Lomachenko. If the IBF doesn't take the title away from Haney, the shortest way for Lomachenko to win a belt would be to fight defensive artist Shakur for the vacant WBC belt. And this belt will become empty when Haney challenges Regis Prograis for his 140-pound championship in October. So Lomachenko would have to meet Shakur to win the WBC belt. It is imperative that Stevenson advances to 147 pounds. In recent years, Shakur has made several unsuccessful attempts to get other fighters to confront him in a match, and the results of these attempts have not been favorable for Shakur. For Stevenson, nothing will change unless he earns a reputation, and the only way he can accomplish that is by fighting the best men, which is not going to happen at 135 or 140 pounds. Also, the prominent fighters will continue to avoid him until he becomes a celebrity because right now, he's not worth fighting since there is little upside in meeting him. Shakur, like many other fighters who are shunned in their weight classes, will need to move up to a different category if he wants to obtain the high-stakes bouts that are so difficult to come by. If Stevenson steps up to 140 pounds, he will almost certainly have no trouble receiving a championship chant against Subriel Matias, who is the IBF light welterweight champion. But except for him, no further contact will be made. Thus, the most advantageous course of action for Stevenson would be to make the jump up to 147 pounds and compete against top-tier competitors for one of the vacant belts, such as Jaron Boots Ennis, Imantis Stanionis, or Keith Thurman. On the other hand, Shakur is not likely to do that since it would subject him to punishment, increasing the likelihood that he may be knocked out on occasion and preventing him from dominating the fight in the same way that he is doing so right now. Share your thoughts on whether or not you believe Shakur Stevenson has what it takes to become the next boxer to be called the face of boxing in the comment section below. And that wraps things up. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Please hit the subscribe button and we'll see you in the next one.